Welcome to Codex History of Video Games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, we're doing a tier list. And we're going to be doing a tier list on Zelda games. So it's Tears of the Kingdom, but tiers like a tier list. That was, I think Alexa made that joke. It's a great pun.
No, it's good. It's real good. I like it.
Real good pun. In fact, that's why we decided to do this. We're like, that pun's so good. We got to start listing these. We got to start ranking these Zelda games. We're on a website called tiermaker.com, and we picked a Zelda like template for this. So there's a bunch of games in there already. It's pretty comprehensive. It doesn't cover like a million different like side games or like, you know, Link's crossbow training isn't in here.
Yeah, I don't think the CDI games are in here either, everybody.
Yeah, CDI games are in here. This is mostly just mainline stuff. There's a couple of like handheld things that I don't know if I'd consider them mainline, but you know, we can talk about them if we've played them. We'll be ranking them from S tier to F tier. So S, A, B, C, D, F, no E tier. And then we also have a tier for haven't played because we haven't played every single game on this list. But we wanted to at least talk about that and not make it seem like we forgot about games.
Yeah. Like should we do the big announcement just up top right now, by the way? We should just do the big announcement up top. So here's what's going on, because we're recording this, and then our dear friend Tyler goes on a trip for 2 weeks, right? And right when Tyler comes back from his trip, I go on a trip for like 3 weeks where I'm gone traveling.
We timed it perfectly.
We did. We really did. So here's what's going on. This is the first episode of us making backups for like the time we're gone, but not every single episode is going to be like a new one while we're gone. Think of this as the Codex summer vacation a little bit. So we're going to have episodes coming out like every other week basis, but we're not going to have every week. So if you might see a couple weeks in a row where there's 2 episodes that are like re-releases, Codex remasters. That's okay. We haven't abandoned you. I just want to let you know that we're just on a little vacay. And so kind of like August is when we're going to get back into it again. But then I get married in August. So I don't even know. You know, maybe Tyler and I will do an episode at my wedding. I have no idea.
We'll see.
I'll
bring all my recording equipment.
We have recording equipment. We boot up our Miyu Mini and we just do an episode. That's what we do. That's how we do it. So I just want to let everyone know that I believe the next episode we do, though, once Tyler comes back and before I leave, will be a mailbag episode, though. So if you have emails, send them in to us. If you have questions, we'll do a mailbag episode, and then I'll go on my trip. So that's kind of neat. But anyway, let's tier list some Zelda games.
Let's tier list it up. We just want to go in the order here that they're presently listed. They don't seem to be in any particular order.
Yeah,
the first one on the list here is Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
Now, this is a very good game, I have heard. I have not played this, and I feel kind of bad for not playing this. And I'm going to feel that way for a lot of games on this list. But you've played A Link Between Worlds?
Yes, I can confirm this is a very good game, and you should absolutely play it.
Yeah, I think we talked. I think I was going to borrow your copy of it, and then I moved away from Los Angeles, and it was sad.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll bring it up for you when I come visit this summer.
Yeah, nice.
But it's so cool because it's one of the few direct sequels in the Zelda series. It is a direct sequel to Link to the Past, which is of course a beloved Super Nintendo game. It's on the 3DS, but it's like top-down view. It's in 3D, like polygons and stuff, but it has a top-down view, so it feels very old school. It uses the same world map as A Link to the Past. It has a cool mechanic where Link can turn into like a chalk drawing and like move along walls. It kind of looks weird and seems kind of dumb, but the puzzles that happen with it are very cool. One thing this game about it that makes it very unique in the Zelda franchise is that the dungeons can be done in any order. And like there's a lot of like Zelda games sort of have a history of like some dungeons can be done out of order, some like there's not necessarily a set order for dungeons, but generally speaking, like there's kind of a flow. You know, you're not gonna there are dungeons that are later in the game, there are dungeons that are earlier. In Link Between Worlds, they're all accessible from the beginning, and each dungeon kind of has its own item that you rent or buy from like this item shop in the game. And so you will go get the item for that dungeon. I think that's how it works. I haven't played it in a long time. I think you get the item for that dungeon and you'll go do it. It's very cool because it's non-linear and like you get to choose your own adventure, which is like a cool sentiment. I did find it a little bit less satisfying because the dungeons can never assume you have any item that's not just like the item for that dungeon. So when you're going through like Ocarina of Time, later dungeons in that game will assume you have the hook shot or the long shot from the water temple, or they'll assume you have the bow and arrow from the forest temple. This game can't do that. So all of the dungeons they don't really build on each other in that way.
That's kind of cool, though. I like that it's a switch up from Zelda game, personally.
Yeah, that's kind of my only gripe with it, and it's not. It's really just a side effect of like this choice that they made to make it really non-linear. And while I think if I were making my own Zelda game, I wouldn't do that. It was a cool thing that they
Oh,
tried.
so you don't like it? Because I like the sound of that. That's okay if we disagree. People say we have to have more heated debates on this
Oh yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. I just thought it didn't like there's a in other Zelda games there's a very real like progression of like temples or dungeons get harder and they sort of build on each other in the items and stuff like that. In this game they don't do that. There's just like six or seven there's like however many dungeons there are and you just go and you do them all. And they're all very good. Like they're still good Zelda dungeons. They're still really fun, but there isn't that like sense of like getting stronger as the game goes on other than building your hearts and stuff like that or at least it's not as much in this game as it is in other Zelda games.
Nice. Well, in that case, where do you want to put it? Because you're the one in charge here for this one, I believe. Because I have no experience.
For now, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Just for
The
now.
B
Maybe
tier.
we'll, as this starts to suss out, we reserve the right to move things around as these things start to sort of reveal themselves. But I think I'm gonna put it B tier because it was good. Not my favorite Zelda game. I have a few specific gripes with it, but that doesn't make it not worth playing. I don't think it's a bad game.
Gotcha. Good, good. Okay, the next one on there, I believe, is The Legend of Zelda for Super Nintendo.
Yeah, A Link
Correct?
to the Past.
A Link to the Past. Yeah, I'm looking at the icons and they're very small. So I have played this one. I haven't beaten this one, but I have played this one.
Same.
This to me, and there's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say, listeners, is a good Zelda game, but I wouldn't describe it as a great Zelda game.
I agree. I think a lot of people have nostalgia for this game, and I want to also make sure we caveat that like we're ranking Zelda games among Zelda games. Anything in the like these are all amazing, wonderful, awesome games, right? If it's an F tier
Yeah.
Zelda game, that doesn't mean it's a bad game or that we're like angry at it or that like we didn't like it. Like all these games are awesome. They're all great. So we're just ranking them amongst themselves, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking that for this one, I would put it in either the C or D tier. I feel like C is more appropriate because it's like an average
Yeah.
rating.
I'm with you
So,
on that. I think that's a little controversial because there are a lot of people out here that would be like, this is the best Zelda game. This is S tier.
yeah,
And I don't agree
people
with
are
you.
mad at us. People are screaming at us right now.
Yep.
They're angry, but we'll let them sit in their feelings. It's okay to sit in your feelings for a bit.
Yep.
So the next one, are we just gonna do it? Are we just gonna knock this one off? Because
Let's skip this one. Let's move it down the
okay,
list
let's
a
put
little
it
bit
down
more.
there. Okay, okay. What's this next one then,
This
right there?
is
That I
this one is Four Swords Adventures for the GameCube, which is one I actually haven't played, but it is one of the very few multiplayer Zelda games where you can play with up to four people at the same time.
Yeah, I remember that from the Zelda history I did. And this is where I started feeling guilty during my Zelda history because I was talking about games I hadn't played, and that's kind of why we stopped, listeners. So that's one of the this is one of the ones I didn't play, and I heard it was good, and especially if you have friends to play it with. But it's one of those games too where I feel like if you don't have friends to play it with, it's probably not worth your time.
Yeah, we should maybe try to do like a co-op, like let's play it on because I think the GameCube emulator has net play. So obviously we would buy our own
Legal
legal copies
copies
of this
of the
game,
game,
of
yeah, of
course.
course, obviously, yeah.
But I think we could
That's a
maybe
given
play
at
it.
this point. If we say we're emulating a game on here, obviously it means we own a legal copy of it.
Of course,
Clearly.
always.
Yeah,
Yep,
every time.
without a doubt. So yeah, I don't have a ton to say about that one other than it's on. It's on the haven't played tier. Does this one require you to play with Game Boy Advances? That might make it hard to play over the
I
internet.
think that is it also. Yes, it does have a Game Boy Advance as a controller feature with
Yeah.
this,
So
which they were kind of experimenting with at the time.
did it require it, or was it just a
I
cool
don't think
thing?
it required
Okay.
it. I don't think it required it, but I do think it was like a selling point of the multiplayer aspect because you would
Yeah.
need that for the screen for certain modes and things. Because it wasn't just like co-op multiplayer; there was also like true, not I want PvP is a strong word
I'm
for a
gonna
Zelda
Google it real
game.
quick. The multiplayer version requires each player to have a
Oh,
GBA. Yeah, it
but
does.
I think you can play it single player where you control all four of the links. I think that's a thing you can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the single player game may be played with either a GameCube controller or a GBA. So yeah, so there's like quite a barrier to entry to play this multiplayer because you also gotta have Game Boys. I don't think you need to have any specific game. I think you can just play it in a Game Boy without the game. But then you also need to have the Game Boy to GameCube cable, which was itself like $20, and you needed 4 of those, and you needed 4 Game Boys.
It adds up. It adds up.
Sure does. But okay, so maybe we can't play that one online over the internet.
Gosh, if you wanted to play that now with all the hardware, 4 players, you'd be dropping like 500 on used video game stuff.
Yeah,
And that's
that's
with
tough.
that's if you get deals too.
Yeah, and because you got to use regular hardware. I don't think maybe there's a way to get the Dolphin emulator to work with like GBA. I think there's like maybe like a hacked version, or not a hacked version, but like a modified version that's sort of built just for this. But that would be something to look into if we want to try to play together.
Okay, we can look into it. I like that. I like that plan.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
What's the next one on here?
next one on the list is A Link to the Past, but the Game Boy Advance remake, which I'm going to put it in the same C tier because it's just as good as the Super Nintendo version. This is the version that I'm most familiar with. I think it has an extra dungeon probably, and it has the 4 swords, a different 4 swords multiplayer mode that you can play with a link cable, which is kind of neat. But I haven't spent a whole lot of time with it, so I really can only rate it based on the fact that it's Link to the Past. And we already put that C tier, and I don't think the additions to the Game Boy Advance version put it really above the other one. Like when Link swings his sword, he uses the sword swinging voice sample from Ocarina of Time. Like that's cool, but not enough to give it a tier boost.
No, I agree. That's a good spot for it. The next game on this list was my first Zelda game I owned.
It might have been mine also, unless I owned Ocarina of Time before it. I'm actually not sure.
This is Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX is the cover
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, and I think we can just lump it in with Link's Awakening in general.
Now, Link's Awakening, and this is our tier list. So I have the right to confirm with you. This is selfishly my favorite nostalgic Zelda. Like the way you look at Ocarina of Time, I look at Link's Awakening.
Oh, dang.
I know that's not okay though, because we're a team for this. I know people have said we got to do our own tier lists at different times, but I want to put this at least A tier.
I'm with you on that. I got this probably around the same time as it was the same Christmas that my brother got a copy of Pokemon Blue and I got Zelda, and I was really stoked for it, but I ended up being more stoked for Pokemon. So I ended up getting my own red version of Pokemon. But I think I must have got this before I played Ocarina of Time, but I honestly don't know. But I have a lot of nostalgia for it also. And I had the non-DX version because it must have been pre Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I believe so. This was no.
Well, I know the game. I
Maybe
know the
not.
game came out in '93. Like the original Link's Awakening was
Yeah,
definitely pre Ocarina of Time. I'm just trying to think about
the
when
DX
I
might
got
have
it.
been right before 64
Yeah,
came out,
Link's
or right after. Because
Awakening.
I
Let's take a look.
I definitely owned a Game Boy Color at the time I played this.
Yeah,
So
1998 is when it came out on Game Boy Color in December, which would have been right about the same time as Ocarina of Time came out. Like they would have
wow,
been very close to
what a
each
great
other.
for Zeldas then.
Yeah,
Honestly,
they would have been very close to each other in release date.
I love this game. I played the remake on Switch. I loved it. I've talked about it on here before. A tier. If I had my own tier list, I would put this in S tier. But I'm not doing that
Yeah,
because we're sharing, and sharing is caring.
yeah, and I don't know if I would bump it up to S tier. I love the remake. I think the remake is phenomenal. The graphics are so fun. Like it feels like plastic toys. Like everything just like feels like that smell of plastic toys. I feel like you can smell that when you play this game, even though Switch doesn't have smell-o-vision. Not yet.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying though, for sure.
I think it's so good. I don't know if I bump it up to S tier because of that, but gosh, it's a really, really good remake and clearly the best way to play this. I didn't have the DX version growing up. That's why I think that maybe I got it. Maybe I got it well, when did Pokemon come out? Because it would have been. Oh man, okay. Pokemon Blue.
We're looking it up. We're
Because
looking
I
at
know it came
Pokemon
out
Blue,
in like
everybody.
'95 in Japan or '96, but it was '98. So it would have been right around the same time as I got Ocarina of Time. So it would have been after I got Ocarina of Time because I got that pretty close to launch, I think. Or Ocarina of Time, I think. I want to say. So, yeah, but okay. but I didn't get the DX version. I got the non-DX version, which is so strange then. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I got the DX version. Not to brag or
Yeah.
anything,
The
but
DX version was color
NDD.
on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
And it had a cool color dungeon that you could only do. I think it would only let you in if you were on a Game Boy Color, but it also had a bunch of color-based puzzles.
Yeah, it was a fun game. I was a big fan of it.
Yeah. Okay. A tier. We good with
A
that?
tier. Next up, we have a 64 Zelda,
But
and it's Majora's Mask.
oh man.
This is the problem with the Zelda tier list is we're going to put too many in the S tier.
Yeah, that's a good. Oh man.
I I'm torn here, Tyler. When I was a kid and I got Majora's Mask, I didn't like it because I didn't get it. And this is naive childhood me, right?
Yeah.
I came back to as an adult and I'm like, this is amazing. I didn't beat it, but I played it again and I really enjoyed myself and I had a fun time.
You and I
And I
have the
liked
same story. Well, I did
and I
beat it.
feel like that's the arc of a lot of children at the time that played this game.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know because it's experimental, right? It completely like it was the first time I think to most people that they really tried to do something different
hmm
with a Zelda game, and I want to reward it for that, but I don't know if it goes in S tier.
Yeah, I don't know either. I had the same experience. I rented it from a Blockbuster, shortly after it came out. Probably played it a little bit, but was kind of like the 3 day time constraint kind of seemed weird to me. I didn't quite know what I was doing, even though because I had Ocarina of Time like just so memorized by that point that like playing a game that wasn't Ocarina of Time, but like sort of felt like it was like strange to me. And I was like, I actually don't. I just want this game that I really know. Like I just want to play Ocarina of Time again. Is kind of what it made me do.
It was controversial that
Yeah,
this came out afterward, and everyone's like, "Why didn't you just do another Ocarina of Time?"
yeah.
And now in 2023, they've done a second Breath of the Wild essentially, and everyone loves it, but there's still people that complain about it that they didn't try something new.
Yeah. Yeah, this game, but playing it again later, I played it again in like 2013 on an emulator. Obviously, I owned a legal copy. And boy, it really spoke to me at that point in time. It's like not very long of a game. It's really dark. It's like probably the darkest Zelda, at least that I've played.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really dark. I remember that being like, "Ooh, wow."
Yeah. Okay, let's put it in the A tier for now. I reserve
Okay.
the right to bump it up because I do really like it.
Hey, we reserve the right to do anything we want to. Okay?
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want. This is our tier list. Can we go way off course? Can I
Yeah.
pull something in from way
Absolutely.
off course? I would like to talk about Twilight Princess.
Oh yeah. Tell me more, Mike.
So I played this in college and I played on my friends Wii. I never beat it, which I've heard is a shame. In fact, we were talking about it recently on this very podcast that I not beating it was a shame. But it didn't wow me like other ones did.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously, we got to talk this out as a team here, but I want to put it in the B tier personally. Is that too low for you or is that a good place for you?
It feels low, but I think I'm willing to put it there. My,
Is it better than A Link Between Worlds?
yes, I think I like it
Okay.
better than A Link Between Worlds.
How does it stand with Majora's Mask?
I can maybe I might. Well, I don't put it on the same level as Majora's Mask, so I put it at
Do you
like
wish there was a B plus
yeah, I
tier? Is
wish
that
it
what
was
we're
like a
wishing
B
right now?
plus tier.
Let's put it in B for now,
Okay,
but tell me about how you feel because you beat it, right?
yeah.
I never beat it. How did you feel about it?
My so I didn't play it when it first hit the Wii. I can't remember why because I got a Wii on launch day. I just like wasn't excited for it, and I didn't really play it. Um, I kind of float in and out of Zelda in my life, or at least at this point in time, I was like, new Zelda game, maybe I'll check it out at some point. I'm a person that comes back to Zelda games years later and goes, why didn't anybody tell me about this? Even though everybody told me about it. Um, and this was one of those games. So I didn't really play it on the Wii. I wasn't a huge fan of the like motion controls on the Wii. It was
That bothered me.
yeah, it was pretty clear that they just bolted these motion controls onto what was a GameCube game. And so I didn't play it when it first came out on the Wii. I did end up getting a copy of it when Circuit City went out of business. The girl I was dating at the time was working there, and everything was on sale, like just everything. And she managed to snag me a copy of Twilight Princess on the GameCube, and it was like $10 or something. It was like something ridiculous. And this was in when did Circuit City go out of business? Like 2009. So this game wasn't like worth a lot yet in GameCube form, but I kind of had a hunch that it might become that. So I ended up getting a copy of it, and I didn't play it then either. And I played it. I finally got around to playing it right around the same time I got around to playing Majora's Mask, actually, because that was a period of time in my life where I was I had graduated college. I was working a job that I didn't really care for, but I was living with my parents at home, and my partner, who is still my partner, was still at school. She went back. She went to school for another semester after me, and so I was just like at home, and I had a weird schedule where I was just up super late because of just the way my schedule worked at this job I had. And so I played a bunch of video games like late at night at my parents' house when I was like 23.
That sounds dope. I wish I could have done
It
that.
was pretty
Not at
sick.
your parents' house, but at my my parents would have had to have a house at that point. But that sounds sick. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. So that's when I
How
played.
much Mountain Dew did you drink?
Not very much. I had kind of stopped drinking soda by then.
Oh
Or
man,
sugary soda. I
that's
shouldn't say stop drinking soda. I'm a Coke Zero machine, but I stopped drinking like
yeah.
sugary soda. So anyway, I have a fond memory of playing this. The GameCube version specifically, I was playing again in an emulator because I could scale it up.
Because you had a legal copy too.
I did, and I
You
could
just
play it
mentioned
at.
that. Yeah.
I was probably playing it at like 1080p or something, because 4K
Nice.
displays were not really a thing then. And I really loved it. I still don't like the wolf sections to this day. I don't think they're that great. I don't think they add a lot, but I think it has some of the best music in all of Zelda games, especially there's a song called Midna's Lament, where after, like, it's just spoilers for this like 20-year-old game, but like after the like third dungeon, there's sort of a story moment where everything changes, which Zelda games kind of do after like a few dungeons, like some big thing happens, and you end up having to carry Midna, your like partner person, your Navi of the game. You have to carry her like kind of across Hyrule Field, and she's like dying, and it's like raining, and the song that plays on the piano there is called Midna's Lament, and it's probably my favorite song in the whole Zelda franchise. Like, I don't know if it was like just because I was playing at like 3 a.m. and I was really tired, and like sometimes you just get hit,
It
something
hit
just
you right
hits,
in the feels.
yeah, it just hit.
It just got you.
So yeah, I loved it. Anyway, the Wii U remake is fantastic, phenomenal, really good. Best way to play this game by far. I'm really sad they haven't brought it to the Switch yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think that I remember you saying that was the way to play when we talked about it previously. Was the Wii U remake? Because
Yeah, yeah, and
they're gonna do it. The Nintendo Direct was today. They remade both Pikmin games and put them on the store. So they're gonna remake more Zelda games. Everybody, it's gonna happen.
they got it. And this is that the Wii U version is the best version because as Zelda fans well know, the Wii version and the GameCube version of this game are the world is entirely flipped because of the motion controls on the Wii. They expected people to be holding the Wii remote in their right hand, so they made Link right-handed. And rather than just make Link right-handed, they flipped the entire game around. So east is west, west is east, and the whole game is backwards from the GameCube version, which is kind of cool. It gives you, like, if you play both versions, you get sort of a different game. Both versions of that game are in the Wii U remake. I think one of
Oh,
them is the like Master Quest version, and it's just the same. It's like harder, and it's the same. I think it's the Wii version, uh, where it's just so. Anyway, both versions are in the game. It's cool.
nice. All right. Well, there we go. There we have it with Twilight Princess. Okay, so the next one on the list is, I'm guessing, gonna be an S tier.
Tell me more, Mike.
It's Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
S tier, get this, the best. It's the best. I understand I am blinded by nostalgia. Also, I think it's objectively the best.
It's Ocarina. I always say Ocarina. It's Ocarina of Time, and it is the best. Why, Tyler? Why is this the best Zelda to you?
Yeah, you got to make me
I do.
explain it.
You have to show your work if you're going to put it up there. You can't just answer the question.
You're right. You're right. Well, nostalgia certainly plays a huge role in it. It was my first Zelda game, I think, unless Link's Awakening was before it. It's so weird that I can't remember what order I got
I
these Zelda
can't
games
remember
in.
either though, like when I played them or not. Because really, the first Zelda game I ever owned was not owned, played was the original for NES. I played that early on as a kid,
Oh yeah, I definitely played a lot of that, like growing
but I
up.
never
Yeah,
owned
that's true.
it. So
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't. I played it so young, like I didn't get it. I didn't like understand what was happening. Yeah. So this one, I think, well, it's the first game, Zelda game, to make the transition to 3D on the Nintendo 64. One of many franchises that Nintendo would masterfully transition over to 3D. Mario 64, amazing game. is the template for 3D platformers to this day. Same with Ocarina of Time, Star Fox, although the transition to 3D for Star Fox wasn't quite as,
Yeah,
I guess they were all
seamless. Yeah.
3D. And like the Super Nintendo version is also 3D. It's just like a super jank prototype version. It feels like just an unfinished version of Star Fox 64.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's got the classic the young Link, and then you turn into old like adult Link, and the world is completely different, but still kind of the same. And it's like really, really dark, and like it's a real downer, like in the middle of that game when Ganon takes over. Like, and I know they do a similar thing in Link to the Past, where like there's like the dark world, and it's like everything's all taken over by Ganon. But it's I don't know. It's just it's that perfect transition. I think is what makes it the best. And it's a full length Zelda game. Like Majora's Mask loses a few points because it's short, and it's so straightforward too because you just always know where to go next. The addition of Navi, which would be Navi's not in every Zelda game, obviously, after that, but like there is almost always some sort of like character that acts as your guide in most of the Zelda games after that. It's just it's like the template for every Zelda game up until Breath of the Wild, which, changed the game itself. But yeah, I think it is the best one, and I stand by it. What do you
I
think?
mean, I've played it. I've never beaten it, which I know is heresy in your eyes. I know.
You got to beat these
I
games,
know.
man.
I've played so many Zelda games that I haven't beaten. I I liked it a lot and I had a good time, but I do feel like I'm just like missing out on it because I didn't play it when it came out and I also didn't play it like beat it. So I don't have that like nostalgia story for it there. But
Yeah,
I understand
there's
how good it is because I did have fun playing it and I did enjoy it. And I do see like where the foundations are of like transferring like a 2D Zelda top down to a 3D. They did an amazing job. Like just an amazing job. And even like just think about like the Great Deku Tree, the first like dungeon you do, and how cool that is. And how you like
mhm.
unlock things and they actually use like being in 3D as like a thing. It's great. I liked it.
Yeah, and it's just like the amount of secrets in it,
Yeah.
and just like, and I guess I'll admit that like being a kid when this came out, because I was 8 years old when this game came out, and I played it right around the time it came out. There was just this sense of like wonder of like this world that was so big, even though it's like really small by today's standards, but it was so big, and it felt like there was just so much stuff in it, and so many people, and so like just there's all the different civilizations. It's just like it's like a really small version of later Zelda games that would sort of
Yeah.
expand on that. But
You get
yeah,
Epona. It's great.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You get Epona, which I think is the first time you can ride a horse. Like that, you can do that in this
Also,
game.
like
You
the
can, and it's optional.
oh yeah, it is optional. I didn't even think about that. I mean, obviously you get it because you love Epona, right? But I feel like
Yeah,
this
of
is the
course.
first one too where I remember kids at my school sitting around like talking about how to beat the water temple. You know
Yeah.
that like, that kind of thing was like I remember this Zelda for that reason.
Yeah, there was a kid that used to sit next to me on the bus only so that I would tell him like how to beat whatever part he was stuck on in Zelda, and I don't think I ever talked to him again after he
You were
finished the
his
game or
Obi-Wan
gave up on
Kenobi
it.
though in that situation.
I was, yeah, but I was just so happy to be talking about this game that I loved, and yeah, man, I played the heck out of this game. I beat it tons of times. I could probably I want to do a randomizer for it because I think this is one of the few games that I know well enough that I could do a randomizer for. Yeah, it's so fun. Getting the Bigoron sword is such a long like quest line to get it, which is not the first time they've done that. They did that in Link's Awakening. There's a really long quest line in that game too. But man, this game was really something special. I remembered the ads in Nintendo Power. There was a whole issue of Nintendo Power that was like twice as big that was just dedicated to this game. And seeing the ads in Nintendo Power, and it just looks so cool.
Yeah,
Man,
it's a good game. It's good. I don't think people are going to be upset that we put it in the S tier. I just feel like people are going to think there's other games that are better than it, but that's fine.
yeah.
That's okay. The next
Yep.
two games, though, on here are two we have not played, and they're
Yeah, I've like briefly dabbled, but not enough to
yeah,
really be
that's
able to make a
Oracle of
call.
Seasons and Oracle of Ages.
These ones were developed by Capcom. Actually, they're not. I mean, they're published by Nintendo, obviously, but they were developed by different people. They're cool because they both function as sequels to each other. When you finish one, you get a code you can type in the other, and like sort of get like a new game plus in the other one. And then there's like I think there's an extra dungeon at the end of the second game that you finish, and it doesn't matter what order you do them
Yeah,
in.
we talked about that in the episode of the history, so that's definitely something that's there. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a game I should play through. Maybe I'll play through. Maybe I'll do that on the plane. They're short. I think they're not very long.
I was thinking about breaking out another game on this list because I never beat it, but the Minish Cap is when I
Oh
started and I
yeah,
had a really good time with it. But then the flight landed. We should just talk about it right now. Hell, yeah, let's just do it.
yeah. Let's just talk about Minish
Uh,
Cap. I've spent a little bit of time with this game.
I have
Not a
two. I
ton.
played like the first maybe 3 hours of it because I played it on a
Mhm.
flight and I really dug it. And it's on the Game Boy Advanced emulator. I don't think I have enough to give it like the props it deserves. So we might want to keep it on the haven't played, but my estimation of it while I was playing it is this is a B. That's what I kind of, if I
Okay,
was going to give
let's
it a
throw it on the
grade.
B tier then. I think I'd throw it there too. I don't remember. There was nothing about it that like turned me off. I think I just, like I said, I'm one that comes back to Zelda games years later and
Yeah.
then appreciates them later.
What's that next one on our list here? This Nintendo DS game.
Phantom Hourglass, one of the few direct sequels. It's a direct sequel to The Wind Waker. I haven't played it enough to be able to make
I
a
have not
judgment on it.
either.
I know some people love the fact that you keep coming back to the same. There's like a dungeon in the middle of the map. I think that like you keep coming back to it. You can get further and further into every time you do it. Some people really like that. Some people didn't like that they kind of had to like redo puzzles they'd already done. But I think it's like a neat idea. But I don't think I've played it enough to be able to throw a judgment on it. And same for Spirit Tracks. I played even less of Spirit
I
Tracks,
feel
which is
like
also a
I
sequel.
think Spirit Tracks is also one of those games that if someone's played Spirit Tracks, they might rate it kind of low. Like I've heard that's one of those
Yeah,
games that people kind of just do not enjoy as a Zelda game. It was
yeah. The
like
train building stuff
trains.
is
Yeah,
like,
it was an experiment, but my general
yeah,
idea was the consensus was people didn't really enjoy it too much. Do we want
yeah.
to just talk about it? It's next up. We just got to do it. I think we got to just
Breath of the
pull the
Wild,
band-aid off. Yeah, Breath of the Wild.
dude. It's an S tier. Come on, it's got to be
Yeah,
right.
I enjoyed it. It's on my S tiers. I know that there's those people that naysay it and say it's not, but I think it's an S tier.
Who's naysaying Breath of the Wild? Tell me who they
There's
are.
some Discord conversations where people say Breath of the Wild is not as good as everyone thinks it is. There's some stuff going on in Discord.
Ah,
Is that why you
that's
don't hang
just
out
some
there right now? Is that why you're
contrarian.
not doing it? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. This is
That's just some contrarian stuff right there. I don't agree. I think Breath of the Wild is probably the most Zelda game of all the Zelda games. I guess it depends on how you look at Zelda games because I think there's a camp of people who are like Zelda games are like a third person action game where there's like set dungeons and they're like so sort of open world, but there's like kind of a set order you do things in and there's like a structure to them, which a lot of these games adhere to. From the very first Zelda game, Link's Awakening, Ocarina of Time, like they all adhere to this sort of like set structure, which is a very good structure. I'm not knocking the structure. That Breath of the Wild just throws out of the window in a way that's very different from how Link Between Worlds throws it out. Because Link Between Worlds still keeps that structure, but then says, but do it in any order you want, which but it's still structured, right? Breath of the Wild, I think, is the most Zelda game because I think it is what they would have made in 1987 or whenever the first one came out. This is the game they would have made if they could. This is like whatever Miyamoto had in his brain of what he wanted Zelda to be when they made that first Zelda game. I think it's Breath of the Wild, but obviously you couldn't do that on the NES.
I agree.
That's why I think it's the most Zelda game of them all.
I agree. The only thing that I think is controversial with it that people don't really enjoy, and I can see why, it doesn't bother me, but weapon durability is something that
Yeah,
people
that
really don't enjoy with these both that and Tears of the Kingdom. But I
yeah.
think
I'm not saying it's a flawless game.
it
I just think
does
it's
make me want to like you. It makes me use different weapons, so in that way, it works.
yeah.
It is doing it.
Yeah, I kind of like the weapon degradation thing, and I am. It depends on how you view it. Like, because if you get a really strong weapon, and then this weapon degradation system makes you go, I don't want to use that because I don't want to break it. Then I can see how that's really like not fun for you. I see it as just like a well, this is the cool thing that I have for as long as I have it, and then when it's gone, it's gone. And I just like so when I get a really big weapon, I get really excited because I get to use it for a little while, and then I got to go back to my stuff that's like maybe not as good. But it makes me use everything, and I think Tears of the Kingdom does a really good job of like sort of allowing you to upgrade your weapons a little bit by attaching things to them. They still break, but I think it makes like when you find a stick on the ground, it makes it a little more exciting when you're like, but I can attach it to this other thing, and like now it's like a slightly better stick.
Yeah, I like that too. All right, you ready for my first low grade one?
Yeah,
I bought the Skyward Sword HD remake. I played it all the way through. It felt like a slog at certain times. I did enjoy it. I'm glad I beat it, but to me, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is D tier.
D tier. Dang.
And
Okay.
it does do a lot of cool things. It has a lot of cool story elements where you're like, because it's kind of one of the earlier games in the very messed up Zelda timeline, so
Mm-hmm.
it answers some cool questions there. But to me, it just wasn't as fun as the other ones. Like I just if you like, obviously I'm going to take Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom over this. You know, it's very linear. It just doesn't. It's a Wii game that I played on the Switch, and I'm wondering if that didn't translate right. Like maybe if I had more of the motion controls, I would have enjoyed myself. But
From what I've heard, the motion controls, like the translation they did, was better on the Switch. Like the Wii was like kind of unreliable in how, because it used Motion Plus, so but it was like kind of unreliable in how the swings worked in a way that did not feel good. As
yeah,
from what I
I
heard, I have not
used
played this game at
I
all.
used my Pro controller most of the time I played this too, so that could be it.
Yeah,
I just wasn't experiencing it all the way. But I'm gonna go D tier. I'm doing it. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Skyward Sword
something's got to
fans.
be there.
Something's got to be there. And I think if you know what we're talking about with Legend of Zelda, I think most people know which one we're putting in the F tier.
It's Tears of the Kingdom. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that one last, though. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom last.
This is
Next one on the
one
list,
that
then.
I've never played.
You've never.
I've never
Oh
played it.
boy.
Yeah.
So the next one on the list is the Wind Waker, which also has a Wii U remake, which is, I think, the better version. Some people will kind of poo-poo the graphics of the Wii U remake because it's kind of bloomy. It's like the lighting is kind of weird in a way that some people don't like. But there are a lot of quality of life enhancements to this game on the Wii U version that make it the version to play. But man, this game is this is a game that people come back to, and I'm one of those people, come back to later and go, wow, this game was really great, because when it came out, people were just really upset that it wasn't another Ocarina of Time. They wanted grimdark Zelda, because that's what Ocarina of Time was. Majora's Mask was even more of that, and the demo that they had showed at Space World in 2000 was like, it was just a demo of Link fighting Ganon, but people were like, this is what the next Zelda game is going to look like, and it was very realistic and like really cool. Used the GameCube graphics, and then they came out with Wind Waker, which was all cartoony and fun, and Link had a very expressive face, and it just like, it changed the art style completely. So much so that like Link and Toon Link are like almost two different characters when it comes to things. I mean, they are in like, when it comes to like Smash Bros, right? They're different characters.
Yeah.
Um,
Toon Link clothing in Tears of the Kingdom is hilarious looking, by the way.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, Wind Waker's great. The sailing is fun. There's a lot of it, which is why in the Wii U version, the like sail that you get early in the game that makes the sailing like twice as fast or something, and it makes it so you don't have to set the direction of the wind, because you always had to be like, okay, which direction am I going? And you had to like play the certain wind song so that it would set the direction that you wanted to go in, which was like not a big deal, but also like, how many times am I going to play this song just so I can set the direction of the wind, when in the Wii U version, you can just equip that sail and just go off in the direction you want to go. The music is so good when you're sailing like across the thing. It really has this like, I'm going on an epic like journey out to sea feeling.
Feel like a pirate a little bit? Do you feel
Yeah, you feel a
piratey?
little bit like a pirate. Yeah, you're like, oh gosh, what untold adventures and riches are out here for me when this song kicks in. I really love it. It's shorter. It's only got like 4 dungeons, I want to say, like 4 or 5. It's not as long as other Zelda games. It has a lot of other side stuff, so maybe you could end up spending as much time in it as other games, but the main quest line is pretty short. But I really liked it, and it's got a fun story about Link trying to save his sister, and Zelda is in it, and she's super cool. This is after Ocarina of Time, when Zelda becomes a much more active member of the story that like is actually pretty cool. She has an alter ego similar to Sheik in Ocarina of Time. So spoilers, but yeah, it's a great game. I highly recommend playing the Wii U remake of it, or you can get like mods for the GameCube version if you play it on an emulator that do the Wii U stuff too. So,
Oh,
but the
nice.
Wii U version does play very well in a Wii U emulator.
Oh, good to know. Well, what are you thinking for ranking, Tyler?
I'm gonna put it at the A tier. I loved it.
Nice.
I think it's better than Twilight Princess, but only a little bit better, honestly.
Yeah. What's this next one we have on here? I don't recognize the cover. It's so small I can't see it.
Triforce Heroes for the 3DS. I have zero experience with it. I couldn't even begin to tell you what it is. I think it's another multiplayer one, but
Throw it in the
that's
haven't played, because I haven't
yep.
played it either. Sorry,
Right.
Triforce Hero stands.
All right. We've got 3 more Zelda games in this tier list.
So this next one on here is the original Legend of Zelda. I am
Mhm.
of the opinion that this is a very good game. It started it all, obviously, but I do think it is a kind of like Link to the Past where I want to put it in the C tier because I might even put it in D tier because is it better than Link to the Past?
Nope.
Nope. I think it goes in the D tier. And again, I mean, that's not insulting Legend of Zelda, the NES game. It just means that they've done a lot of improvements since then,
Yeah.
I think.
There's just a lot better ones. And it's I mean, if you got an NES, it's a classic. You got to get it. You got to have this game. Everybody should play it, should be familiar with the roots of Zelda. But this game is not that great and there's a lot of things in it that like they don't tell you. Like there's just like areas of the map you got to throw a bomb there and like that opens up a cave and if you didn't know that, you will get stuck. You cannot make progress without knowing that and like this is a pre-internet time. You can even look it up. So I don't even know if they sold strategy guides. Like I don't even know what the plan was
Yeah, I
here.
don't even know. Do they have that call line at this point in time? I don't even know if they did or not.
Yeah, maybe, but even then, that seems like if that's the motivation of like, oh, make give them a reason to call the call line so we can make extra money, like that can't be. Like that just
Nah,
seems
that
like
doesn't
such a
seem right.
strange thing.
All right. Well, I do like it. I mean, it has the classic "It's dangerous to go alone. Take this." You know,
Yeah,
it's got all that cool stuff in it. But personally, I'm more nostalgic for Link's Awakening. Okay, so let's go do. This is was I what I was thinking would be the F tier game. Granted, the little experience I have with it was just because it was so frustrating as a kid,
yeah,
and that is the Adventures of Link, the sequel to the original Legend of Zelda.
yep,
So I want to put it in the F tier. And I know this game I've watched a lot of recaps of this game of people being like, it's not that bad. And they make some great points. And I do agree with them. But I think it was just such a culture shock for so many people. Like you were saying with Ocarina of Time being followed by like Majora's Mask and Wind Waker, it was something that just threw it off. I don't want to knock the experiment, and I don't think it's as bad of a game as everyone says it is. But as far as a ranking of Zelda games, I do think it's on the lower end of the spectrum of Zelda games, which is why I
yeah.
want to put. Did you play this game, Tyler?
I did. I played it a lot at the daycare that I went to growing up. I played the original Zelda a lot, and then we would play Zelda 2 also.
It's pretty hard.
It's really hard. It's a very different kind of game. It does have some cool RPG elements like gaining XP and like getting some stat boosts and stuff. Like that's kind of cool. I didn't really understand it as a kid, but like looking back, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. They like tried some different stuff here. The overworld is like really weird and janky, and then the main gameplay is like a side-scrolling like
Platformer.
hack and slash thing,
That's
platformer.
what
Yeah,
threw me off. It sounds like a cool idea. It is very reminiscent. If you've ever played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for NES, it's very similar with the overworld, and then you go into these little sections where you're platforming, and it's just really hard. I don't think it worked.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's not great. There. I mean, I'm sure
is my
there. Every game
opinion.
has its defenders, so I'm sure somebody will defend it. But
I've wanted to go back to it. Like it's on my list of games I want to go back to because I have a funny feeling now I could appreciate it more as an adult human being. But
yeah,
there's other games. There's so many other games.
I think it's frustratingly hard to go back
Hmm.
to in the few times I've like tried it in, as an adult, which I probably haven't played it in 10 years. But
There's a really good YouTube channel called You Can Beat Video Games, and this is one of the ones he plays like a long play of on there. And I would just watch that. That's probably the better course of
okay.
action.
Yeah.
Get some popcorn, relax, watch that YouTube channel.
Yep.
You ready to close this thing out? You ready to do our last one?
Oh yeah, let's do the last one, Mike. Tell me what you think.
It's Tears of the Kingdom, and I love it. I do think it's pretty amazing that they found a way to improve upon the formula of Breath of the Wild with this fuse system and with the building system. I like the story so far. I haven't beaten it yet, but it's just more of what I like. And I know it's not like there's people that like detractors about this, but if I'm enjoying it, then hey, I'm happy. I'm gonna put
Yeah,
it in the S tier. I want to put it in the S tier again with the other one. I think it's just as good as, if not better than Breath of the Wild.
I'm fully with you on that. I think the only thing that you can knock this game for is for it being not as large of a leap as Breath of the Wild was. Like Breath of the Wild was brand new. We hadn't seen anything like it before. It was especially in the Zelda series like super cool. This is more of that but improved. So I think it's got to be at least just as good. But like it's kind of got the BioShock 2 thing going on. I think where like BioShock 2 I think was just as good as the first BioShock. but it was just so it wasn't surprising because it was just more of the first BioShock.
I was surprised by the depths and the sky islands.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was that adds a whole new dimension to the game for me personally because you have to change the way you play versus in the overworld. Like I feel pretty safe in the overworld when I play, right?
Mhm.
But then when I go down in the depths, I'm like, okay, it's go time. Got to have some bright bloom seeds. Got to
Yeah,
build my hover bike. Got to
I
putt
haven't got to
around.
the depths yet. I have it's available to me, but I haven't gone down there yet. It's kind of scary.
It is scary when you first dive into the giant holes in the ground and you go down and you can't really see anything because you have none of the map explored. It is really kind of scary. And I think that's kind of cool that it does that. Also, I just started, and this might lean more into the what you've been playing segment, but today I actually just started leaning into doing the geoglyphs and the memories on the surface. And they do a pretty good job of giving a more explanation to the story about who Ganondorf is and the relationship between that and King Rauru and like why it's all going on. And I'm digging it. They're trying, they're trying to fix this weird timeline they made. And I'm happy they're doing it.
That's great. I'm excited to get further into it. I have like a few hours in it, but I'm not really doing a lot of story stuff. I'm sort of free forming, like going around getting as many towers as I can. Like I kind of like filling in the map.
Yeah, that's what I did too in the very beginning. I just filled in the map. It was super fun doing
Yeah,
that. Well, do you want to go really quick? And we don't need to go over a synopsis, but just going from starting with haven't played to S, read out what they are in there
yeah.
for us.
Okay, so haven't played category: Four Swords Adventures, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, and Triforce Heroes. Haven't played them. F tier: Adventure of Link. It's the closest thing to a bad game in the Zelda series, to be honest.
Which is
Not
not even a bad game.
right.
It's not. It's just the least of the Zelda games.
Yeah, outside of like the CDI games, which are actually bad, but
Yeah, and they're not on
we don't
this
talk
list.
about
We
those.
didn't put CDI on here. Sorry, CDI fans.
Yeah, D tier: Skyward Sword and the original Zelda for the NES. Zelda for the NES, mostly because everything else after it is better, and that's a great thing. Skyward Sword, whatever,
Just didn't impress me.
didn't impress. I haven't played it. C tier: Link to the Past. And yeah, that's the only one in the C tier because we have that in the Game Boy version of that. I think that's our most controversial pick here, to be honest. Link to
Yeah,
the Past in the C tier.
that's probably gonna ruffle some feathers a little
Yeah,
bit, but
yeah,
that's okay because that's just how we feel, Tyler. That's how we both experienced it.
yep. B tier: Link Between Worlds, Twilight Princess, and Minish Cap. And then we move on to the A tier, which has Link's Awakening, and we're throwing in the remake in there too because the remake is amazing, but it doesn't push it above
Same
A
game.
tier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same game pretty much.
yeah. We have Majora's Mask in the A tier as well, and Wind Waker. Great. S tier has Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. That's it.
That's good.
That's our list.
I feel like if you asked me to make your tier list, I feel like I would have gotten close to it. I feel like our tier lists are very aligned. The only
Yeah, I think so.
difference that I think I would do is put Link's Awakening in S tier and just swap it with Ocarina of Time because it's like I've played one more than the other. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep.
Watch the both of us go back and play Link to the Past separately, and then we have to do an amendment and put it up in the S tier or something.
Here's what I'll do. We have more things in the S tier if we do this than any other, which is not really how tier lists are supposed to work. But I'm just going to say, let's put Link's Awakening in the S tier. Then we both get our S tier games.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
All
All
right.
right. Well,
We
if
have 4 games
you
in the S tier, and that's the most of any tier.
yeah, it's way too much. Yeah. Well, other than the haven't played tier. So if you have comments, which you probably do just based on what we've done here, you can send us an email at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. We're not going to read emails today because it's gone a little long already. You can go to codexpodcast.net. I'm doing things out of order today, though, because Tyler, what you been playing?
Well, we are recording this very close to the time when we recorded our last episode, so it hasn't changed much. Still working on Diablo 4. I'm now thinking about what I'm going to play on the plane. I was going to play Super Mario RPG, but this morning was the announcement. No, I'm giving away when we're recording this, I guess, but this morning was the announcement of the Mario RPG remake for the Switch, so I guess I'm waiting for that now. And I guess maybe I'll play one of these Oracle games on the plane or something like that, or maybe Minish Cap.
Yeah,
And that's kind of it. I'm still working on Kingdom Hearts 2 with the homies. We're making our way through. We beat a very hard boss the other night.
that guy's the worst. That felt bad. That
That fight did feel
genuinely
bad.
felt like we were playing a game and we were just hoping we got lucky.
Yep,
That's what that felt
and we did
like.
get lucky, and I think most of the Organization 13 fights after this are worse than that.
Well, we're in it.
Yep,
We're committed. I'm committed. Are you committed?
yep, sure am.
I just put on my giant oversized shoes, so we're going for it.
All right,
And
but
then
that's
Goofy
kind of
died, but didn't.
but then
Spoilers.
then he came right
Do I need
back.
to cut this? Do I need to cut that? That might be something I need to
Mm,
cut.
this game's 20 years old,
Okay, you never
almost.
mind. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Kingdom Hearts people, but
Goofy died and came back.
he came back to life.
I mean, it's not the first time. He dies in combat all the time because he's worthless.
That is true. That's nothing compared to what he does in combat. Gosh, Donald Duck and Goofy are just not good companions.
Yeah, garbage. I think that's it. As far as what I've been playing, I spent a lot of time playing Diablo. So, what have you been playing, Mike?
Well, I tried to play a Destiny 2 mission and I just don't care. So that was fun. And then I also I've been playing some Tears of the Kingdom more and Diablo 4. I'm kind of going back and forth between those. Diablo 4, I'm having a hard time because I have to play a lot of it alone to go through the story because that's kind of what you got to do with these games before you get to the fun part.
Yeah,
And I'm just not in a big grindy mood. So I've been playing instead the Tears of the Kingdom like memories and unlocking those kind of things because while it is kind of grindy to go through and get the geoglyphs, I have all the towers unlocked, so it's really easy. Like I realized I did like 3 of them in 10 minutes, so I'm gonna finish that tonight probably, and then just be
nice.
good. But I'm digging it so far. I'm taking my time. I'm also thinking about what I'm gonna play on my long plane trip. So because I do think that Tears of the Kingdom is gonna just drain my battery so much that I might have to bring like Advanced Wars or something instead that won't drain the battery as bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been fun. So I've been enjoying myself, but not playing games as much as I'd like to. I just time is hard to schedule it around it, but we
Hmm.
do our best. So with that though, so next episode we're gonna do a mailbag when Tyler's back. So you're gonna have this episode that comes out. There's probably gonna be a remastered, and then we're gonna do a mailbag. So if you would like to send us an email, we would love to hear from you. Tell us about how we're entirely all wrong about our Legend of Zelda tier list. We want to know. We want to hear the feedback. And with that, Tyler, do you want to say bye to everybody?
Goodbye, everybody.